Happy Friday to our viewers in Asia, and hello to others watching from around the world. Welcome to Arirang Newsbreak. We begin with domestic politics. Can the ruling Saenuri Party put party division behind and work hand in hand to push through President Park Geun-hye's policy initiatives? We may get some clues today, as all Saenuri Party members will gather at the presidential office of Cheongwade this afternoon for a luncheon meeting with President Park. Her message will very much likely include her continued drive for reform and restructuring, and on bills aimed at boosting the economy to improve the livelihoods of the people. The president had long stressed that the ruling party and the government must cooperate for state affairs to run smoothly and for her initiatives to bear fruit. This marks her first luncheon with the newly sworn-in lawmakers from the 20th National Assembly. There's been mixed international reaction to the latest U.S. sanctions on North Korea's human rights abuses. As you'd imagine, North Korea reacted furiously, but U.S. allies, South Korea and Japan, welcomed Washington's move in the strongest possible terms. For its part, the UN is calling for the international community, including China, to get more serious about human rights. Kwon So-ah reports.
North Korea has condemned the U.S. human rights sanctions on the regime, which even put Kim Jong-un on the blacklist. It's calling the move, quote, an open declaration of war, warning that it will close all diplomatic channels with the U.S. unless the blacklisting is revoked. In response, the U.S. is demanding the North stop its actions and rhetoric and said Washington will continue to pressure Pyongyang for its human rights violations. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Katina Adams said the steps the U.S. has taken are to, quote, promote accountability for North Korean officials responsible for serious human rights abuses and censorship. While South Korea and Japan welcomed the move, China did not, saying the North's human rights issues are not a threat to international peace and security. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry earlier this week asked his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi to help pressure its longtime ally. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called for comprehensive international action, also giving a message to Beijing.
He hopes that member states, including China, uses its influence to encourage the DPRK authorities to cooperate with international human rights mechanisms.
Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Super Typhoon Nepartak is bearing down on southern Taiwan, sparking heavy rain alerts and grounding ships as well as planes. The typhoon is now rumbling towards the eastern counties of Hualien and Taitung, packing wind speeds of 240 kilometers an hour, bringing with it torrential rain. No reports of casualties or damage have been reported yet. The typhoon is expected to strike China on Saturday and make its way towards the Korean peninsula on Monday. Nepartak will be weakened by the time it passes Korea's east coast, but still, heavy rain and strong winds are expected to lash the nation from Monday through Wednesday. A big announcement expected today for fans of Korea's Olympic champion swimmer Park Tae-hwan. An international sports tribunal is set to conclude whether Park can compete at this summer's Olympic Games in Rio after completing an 18-month ban for doping. Kwon Jang-ho has this report.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport is expected to give a final ruling on Friday on whether swimmer Park Tae-hwan will be allowed to compete in Rio. The international body had been expected to give their ruling on Thursday, but Park's lawyers were notified that the decision had been delayed by a day. The swimmer was banned for 18 months by the international swimming body FINA in 2014 for testing positive for testosterone. Though the suspension was completed earlier this year, the Korean Olympic Committee's own ruling for doping meant an additional 3-year ban. That rule was deemed unlawful by Seoul Court last week, but the Court of Arbitration for Sport is set to make the final decision. The Korean Olympic Committee has also convened an emergency board meeting and is expected to make a quick decision after the ruling, as Friday is the last day for the South Korean national team roster to be decided. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
With David Cameron on his way out of 10 Downing Street, we now know that Britain's next Prime Minister will be a woman. In the second ballot of the Conservative Party's leadership race, Theresa May and Andrea Letson have emerged as the top two candidates. Park Jong-hong brings us the latest.
It's now official. Britain will be ushering in a female prime minister who will lead the country out of the European Union. The remaining candidates are Interior Minister Theresa May and Energy Minister Andrea Letson, who came out on top in the wake of the second ballot of Conservative Party lawmakers. In party primaries on Thursday, May won 199 votes to Letson's 84. Justice Secretary Michael Gove garnered a mere 46 votes and was eliminated from the race. Gove, along with former London Mayor Boris Johnson, had been one of the key campaigners for Britain leaving the EU. Theresa May is considered a Eurosceptic, although she supported the UK remaining in the EU during her campaign. But soon after the referendum, May made it unequivocally clear that there would be no turning back. Andrea Letson has been a Leave campaigner from the start, pitching huge opportunities for Britain after its divorce from the EU. Whoever wins the contest, the outcome means Britain will have its second female prime minister in 26 years, after the late Margaret Thatcher, who was in office from 1979 to 1990. The next step in choosing Britain's new prime minister involves 150,000 grassroots Conservative Party members nationwide casting their ballots. The result will be announced by September 9th. Park Jong-hong, Arirang News.
And that wraps it up. Keep it tuned to Arirang for more domestic and global news updates throughout the day. Thank you for watching.